Welcome aboard the Creepy Train. Your driver for tonight's journey is Creepy Train.
I broke up with this crazy girl about a year ago. We'd been going out for almost 2 months, and she was getting super clingy, obsessed, and a little too controlling, so I ended it. One night, I'm sitting at home alone, and I hear a noise outside. Footsteps. Someone sneaking along the side of the house. It's about 10 p.m. I go to the kitchen and grab a knife. I turn off all the lights in my house and sit down by the window, looking out. But whoever's outside, they don't come to my view. I hear clanging on the wall. Someone's out there for sure, as I hear the rubbish bins move, and I debate whether I should go outside, as even though I'm a big guy, I'm also a little freaked out. I keep watch at the window waiting. After about half an hour, I finally get the courage to go outside. With the knife in my hand, I make a lot of noise, hoping to scare off whoever's there. I talk out loud to myself, pretending I'm with someone. I say something like, "You go that way." If they were still there, I was hoping to scare them away. Luckily, no one is there, but they have left a paint spray bottle, as they'd sprayed the word pig on the side of the house. I didn't even consider it could be anyone except my ex, as when we broke up, that's what she called me. That was her thing, to call people pigs. I was trying to think, why now? Why now? Was this some sort of anniversary of us going out or something? The next night, around the same time, I noticed a car outside, across the street. It was my ex's. I knew it because she'd borrowed it from her dad and hit the back bumper. He yelled at her in front of me and she was upset that I didn't defend her. Sorry, well, she was a crazy driver, and her dad, well, he was this scary big guy with weird bug eyes. Not someone I wanted to ever get in a fight with. I could see the outline of a figure in the car and could tell she was watching me from the darkness. I decided I would go outside, pretend to be going for a walk, and double back to catch her. As I closed my door and took off, the car started following me. I stuck to the pavement because in the back of my mind, I was worried about her running me over. It was dark, night, no one was around. She could get away with whatever she wanted. I turned into an alleyway and took a shortcut to another road. Then I ducked down and hid. Her car slowly came along. She was looking for me. I decided I would scare the shit out of her. And when she stopped, I crept up towards the car. I was going to bang loudly on the window. That would freak her out and make sure she got the message. But as I stealthily approached the car, I stopped. I was shocked. It wasn't her. It was her dad. His face turned to me as he saw me standing there. He stared with this demented look in his eye. My heart raced. I didn't know if he was going to get out of the car and charge at me or what he was going to do. And then he drove off. 2 nights later, I get home from work off the bus. But before I go home, I decide to grab some milk from the shop. This means I come back home a different way. And as I do, I see his car parked a few blocks from mine. I'm shook because I know from what she told me of her dad, he's like a hermit and doesn't get out much. I just have a really bad feeling. I get close to the car and look in. There's a roll of duct tape in the back seat. I walk slowly home and stand outside of my house, staring in. It's dark. I left all the lights out like I usually do. My mind keeps racing to why his car is there, parked near my house. Now, sure, it's possible he was there on my side of town to visit someone, but I didn't think so. He actually lived 45 minutes from me. So, I trust my gut. I call 999, the police. I tell them I think someone is in my house. Do I know for sure? No. Do I feel stupid? Yeah, but I'm scared to go into my own house. An hour later, a police car shows up. I think, wow, I'm glad it's not a real emergency. 2 police officers, a man and a woman. I can tell the man's trying hard not to laugh at me. The female officer, however, keeps a straight face and listens to me seriously. I unlock the door and they go in. I'm thinking to myself, I'm so stupid for for getting them involved. But then the police officers start yelling, "What are you doing here?" And I see her dad in my lounge. I'm pushed away by the female officer who goes in there and they arrest him. Jesus Christ, he had a bag with more duct tape in. I don't know what he was planning, but it terrified me. He was charged with breaking and entering. At the court, I saw my ex. She gave me such a bad look. I was hoping he'd be put away for a long time, but I was shocked. He only got 3 months. He was released 2 weeks ago, but I haven't seen him. I drove by his house twice to try and get a look at him. As I sat in the car, I realized I was becoming a stalker. Not good. I'm scared he might come after me again.
Your driver for tonight's journey is MrBlack Pasta.
This is probably the wildest thing that's ever happened to me with a complete stranger. Now, this encounter was not in person, so just note that. I was 14 when this story happened, and the man in question, well, he was in his mid-30s. Not exactly sure how old, but I knew he was in his mid-30s. I had a large friend group at that time, but out of the 10 people in it, I was only really friends with one. The others were all his friends, but they were always around. This particular day, one of his friends asked me if he could use my cell phone to call his coworker to tell him that he won't make it to work. I agreed and handed him my phone without thinking twice about it. Next, he said his coworker wasn't picking up and he gave me back my phone. A couple of hours later, my phone rings and I pick up. I don't recognize the voice, but the caller says I called him. I quickly realized what was happening and tell the person on the other line the name of the guy who borrowed my phone to call him. The caller thanks me and then hangs up. I thought that would be the end of it, but boy was I wrong. Almost right away I started getting texts from the number telling me that my voice sounded very sexy, but I ignored them all. Then the following day I get another text from the guy. He asks me if I don't want to talk to him. I reply with a simple no because I don't want to talk to him. Then he says, well, if you don't want to text me, blank, he uses my actual name, then I could just come by, blank. He uses my actual address. I'm terrified at this point. So I asked my friend's friend if he gave any personal information out to the guy that he called. He told me the guy asked whose phone he was calling from, and he gave him my name. He asked if I live close, and my friend's stupid friend gave him my actual address. I told him the guy was texting me. He said I'm overreacting. Apparently the man's in his 30s and wouldn't bother with someone my age. So I text the weird guy back and say, if you have so much information on me, you must know my age too, right? He says he doesn't mind my age as long as I don't. And what follows next are months of constant calls every single day. He would get very angry if I didn't pick up and start texting me nasty things and even call me horrible names. And please don't judge me for not calling the cops or telling my parents. I was only 14 and I was terrified he would hurt me or hurt my family. Then one day it all came to an explosion that was building up for months. The man kept calling my phone over and over again. Eventually, my younger brother got annoyed and answered it. He told the caller to leave me alone. But he had no idea I was dealing with a stalker, and I just told him it was some random person that kept calling me. But next, the crazy man sent me some really disturbing texts. He told me to get ready. Get ready because he was going to kill me and my brother for speaking to him like that. I couldn't hold back my tears. My neighbor spotted me crying outside. He was older than me, but his brothers were my age. He asked me why I was crying, and I told him everything. I just couldn't keep it in any longer. But my neighbor stayed calm and told me to give him the guy's number. So I did. And 15 minutes later, my phone started blowing up with texts. The stalker was calling me a whore and a bitch and everything else. He said I had some nerve to send bastards that I was having sex with to call him. He was so angry. And somehow, he knew where I was going to be the next day. It was something I had planned for months with my friends. He told me he would be there, and that I was going to pay for being such a bitch. He said he was going to come there and kill me for what I did. I was so terrified I couldn't think straight, but I couldn't cancel. I had to go. It was months of planning. Thankfully, my neighbor offered to go with me and keep his distance in case the man's threats were, in case they were real. But they weren't. The man on the phone never showed up that day, and I'm so thankful he didn't. I don't know what would have happened if he did. I can't begin to imagine. Luckily, that was the end of the calls and the texts. I never heard from the guy again. But to this day, I'm still terrified that I'll bump into him somewhere and he'll hurt me. I don't know if I'll ever get over that. It's crazy how one phone call I didn't even make, can ruin a person's life for so many months. The trauma from that experience will last forever.